Okay, everyone, good afternoon and welcome to this Monday's Wealth Creation Show. Now, today we are going to be talking about maintaining momentum and just about how really I think while you're on your journey and trying to keep yourself in the right mind space and motivated to really keep things moving forward, it's easy to get sidetracked and kind of lose your way. And then, it affects your own progress and then ultimately your own success. And I think the most important thing you could do for yourself is to really create that momentum with your work and your life. And there is different ways to thrive and succeed without completely burning yourself out and having to sometimes consider quietly quitting, which I've seen people do.
We should all take that advice, eh? This is a range of a story about a young man who wanted to make a lot of money,
Uh-huh.
and he went to his guru and he actually says, "I wouldn't have been the same level as you." The guru says, "Well, if you want to be on the same level as me, meet me tomorrow on the beach at 4 o'clock in the morning."
Mhm.
So 4 o'clock in the morning, the next day, he was there, suited and booted, on the beach, waiting to do something. And the guru grabs him by the arm and says, "How bad do you want to be successful? How bad do you really want to be successful?" And he says, I'm real bad. It has to be real bad. Okay, walk into the water then. What? Walk into the water. So the guy walks into the water up to his waist, and he's thinking, he's flipping out. This guru's crazy. He's off his head. I just want to make money. It's like, what we're trying to achieve here. And the guru says, "I thought you wanted to be successful." "Yeah, I do, he said. So he grabbed him by the head and he pushed his head under the water and he held him there and he held him there. And the guy was, jostling about, trying to get up and all the rest of it. And he kept holding him there. And just before he was about to run out of breath and pass out, he let him up. Oh my God. And the guru says, "When you were under the water, what did you want to do the most?" The guy says, "I wanted to breathe,
Mhm.
clearly." The guru says, "When you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful." And I'm really here to tell you that most of you actually want to be successful, but just as you just don't want it bad enough.
Yeah,
Realize that
you
you
don't want
want to be
it bad enough.
successful, but you just don't want it bad enough. You don't want it more than you want your holidays. You don't want it more than you want your parties. You don't want it more than you want your days out. You don't want it more than you're probably watching your favorite television program. You don't want it more than that new car that you really want to have. So what is my point? Well, if you want it that bad, you can't count the cost. Because if you start counting the cost, you'll probably quit or you'll never get started in the first place. You can't count what it takes to get to that point. You just have to do what it takes to make it happen, to get whatever you want.
Yeah, I think that, and you make a good point, Jim, and it's really wanting it bad enough, wanting the success bad enough, a lot more than all these other things that you mentioned, which a
I
lot of
wanted it
people,
more than life. I
yeah,
was prepared to die for what I wanted.
hmm
I would do anything possible to get what I wanted. Anything and everything. I wanted it more than life itself.
and that really puts it up there, along with, like you say in that analogy, like along with breathing, the breath,
When
the
you
air that you
get to
breathe.
that point, Richard, nothing will stop you. You
Mm-hmm.
can read every book going. You can go to every single mentor session and every single training you can go to. But unless you want it more than breathing itself or life itself, you will never get it.
Yeah,
Nothing will stop you when you get to that stage. You'll never think about the cost anymore. You'll never think about whatever it takes. You'll never think about anything else other than you will achieve this. This is why I'm so certain sometimes saying, "Yeah, it's just going to happen anyway." I know it's going to happen because I'm prepared to pay it. I'm prepared
Yeah.
to pay the price, whatever it takes to do it. Is anybody else out there listening? Are you prepared to pay the price? We're all going to have a different price.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
all going to be different for all of us. I paid the price I wanted to pay and prepared to pay. And it was a big price. And that's fine. I've got what I want. I've got everything the world ever want. I don't think I could ever ask for anything more. But I paid the price.
So, although, I mean, we'll not go into the details of things, but do you still think it was worth it all then?
Of course it was.
Yeah.
Holy shit. It's like, I
Was
paid
your
my
favourite
tax
one?
bill this morning. I paid my American Express this morning. I paid my other credit card this morning. I paid off on my holidays and all this morning, and it was all just cash I had.
Yeah.
And it went way beyond 10,000. I'll guarantee you that. And it was just like, yeah, okay, I'll just pay it. Fine.
Yeah. Which you're able to do easily because of all these years that you've put in and all that effort you've put
Because
in.
of what?
And the sacrifice.
I'll guarantee you by the end of the week, I've actually got that money back anyway.
Yeah.
I've made that money anyway by the end of the week.
Yeah. So, I mean, as you say, obviously, the things that you paid the price for along the way and your journey, and I think everybody's life path does have, do you know, the ups and the downs and things. And that's how you grow, and that's how you rise about a challenge. And you know, they say obviously you grow through what you go through. And that's as the saying goes anyway. But momentum in life comes from really focusing on those things that will help you move forward.
The
And
biggest thing that's going to give you momentum, Richard, in anything in this life is a purpose.
yeah,
If you've got purpose, you'll do anything. This is why when they talk about people that are unemployed, it's like the difficulty of people that are unemployed, for example, is they don't have a purpose anymore sometimes, and they lose their purpose, and therefore they're no motivated to do something else. They're no motivated to train. They sit there, and I've seen it before. It's like they'll just sit there, and it's like, but well, nobody's going to give me a job. It's no fair, and woe is me, and all the rest of it. But the reality is, you just have to get out there and do something different. You have to retrain. And it's like a lot of people just don't want to do that because they don't want to pay that price to retrain. It's like, if I'd known the amount of effort and hours I had to put in to get my PADI qualification for diving, which I'm going through right now, I probably wouldn't have started it. It's like, holy shit. But I tell you what I want. It's definitely, I want to be out on Necker Island and I want to go out in the boat and I want to dive on that shipwreck. That's what I want more than anything. And I want to be able to dive time and time again thereafter as well. So I'm happy to put these hours in. And I tell you, it's a lot of hours. Even one wee section in one of the modules itself is like taking me all morning to do. And there's about 7 different modules, and every one of them's got about 5 or 6 different sections. So you could then calculate 6 times 4 is that, then times 7. You've got about 168 hours in that. That's literally when you look at 160 hours divided by 35. That's literally 5 weeks full time. A full-time somebody at their work, 5 weeks learning just the theory. That's just the theory part. I've still got to do the practical.
Do you know, but that just, and it's like what we spoke about the other day, and I can't remember what show it was or whether it was this show last week, but you spoke about like using the analogy of climbing and going up the hill, and you've got the false summits. And if you actually really did know the effort and the time it was going to take to reach the top, you would probably give up a lot sooner.
This is why you shouldn't think about it. You should just do it.
And just get on with it. And
don't overthink it. Oh my God, if you overthink it, your momentum will just go straight down. And you need to maintain that momentum, and that's what will drive you forward. It's your purpose, and it's what you want, and it's everything that's you're wanting to get out of this at the end. It's these goals that you have definable for yourself. Yes, you will get these goals at some point in time, but make sure you have bigger goals. So short-term, medium-term, long-term goals overall. For you and for everybody else around about you in your community, and just all these different things that you could think of, and start to quantify them, start to put the numbers on them. You might not get them, okay, but that's okay. At least you've set them, and I tell you what, you'll get a hell of a lot closer to them than you would actually no setting anything at all.
Yeah. Also, as well, a big hindrance for a lot of people is people continually repeat, unhelpful patterns and cycles and things that hold them back when they're trying to achieve success. And it's something that people really need to overcome. I mean, I've got a few of my own that are bad habits or just bad things that you do, and it's so hard to get yourself out of there because you've done them for so many years. But these are the things that hold you back. And once you realise getting out of those kind of cycles and patterns will free you up and clear your mind for what you're trying to actually achieve.
I don't think most people realise they're in that cycling pattern. I'll tell you a classic example the other day. Remember I said I was going to the Caledonian Hotel, the Waldorf Astoria in Edinburgh, and we're staying for the weekend this weekend on the Friday. And I was thinking to Elaine, it's like, how am I going to car? Where am I going to park the car? And then I thought to myself this morning, went, holy shit, we've got a train station that goes straight into Edinburgh from leaving. Why? See the old patterns, of behaviour. How am I going to get the car there? I completely forgot it. We've got a train station. We just need to walk down to it, and then we just go over Waverley, walk along the road, and we're at the hotel. And everything's within travelling distance for that whole weekend. And walking distance as well. Everything's easily attainable by an Uber or just by walking. Walking's going to be better, actually. I enjoy walking, especially through Edinburgh, because you get all the nooks and crannies and all the different things that go on in the area, and you just things that you've never seen before. And I think that's the personal enjoyment you get out of it. But see how that pattern of behaviour actually almost got me to the point where I was ready to take my car. And I was like, why would I need to take the car? I've got a train, and I'm going on the train on Friday afternoon. So if I'm going on the train on Friday afternoon, then I'm clearly it's not going to be full because it's no night time or anything. And I'm coming back on the Monday, afternoon or something like that. So it's not going to be full then either. Anyway, so it's not as if it's going to be a hassle for me. And we're only needing to take, your typical 10-kilo luggage bag, and you just wheel along at the back of it.
Yeah.
So why would I need to drive then?
Yeah, that's changing that. Yeah, that's changing that mindset, I think, as well. And anybody that really wants to work, once you identify that you want to work towards, you really need to want to create that kind of momentum. And when you move past these obstacles and these cycles and these trends that you put yourself in, these patterns that you put yourself into, you'll be able to then really start focusing on wanting what you really want, and to build that up and create that energy. And it's required to make those next steps and push yourself outside your comfort bubbles, because that's a lot of
how do you get that energy though? I think that's the most important thing. Where does that energy come from? How do you get that energy? You talk about that, and you could say that, but where does that come from?
Well, what I've done for us to kind of discuss today is like momentum building techniques. So, and I've put a few in here to guide our conversation today. And the first one I've put in there is creating a reliable network. Now, what do I mean by a reliable network? Role models, people that are more successful than you, people that maybe you admire for what they do, and you would like to be maybe at their level or doing what they do. And they have a
play devil's advocate with people that are more successful than you, because it's like on the face of it, they might be more successful because they've got a flash car, they've maybe got a bigger house, but are they actually hiding the fact that they've got more debt than you? You're probably better off than them in terms of net worth, your assets minus your liabilities, because they're entrenched into a huge amount of debt in order to maintain that lifestyle they're after. So possibly when you see someone like that and you think to yourself, well, that's somebody I really want to be like, it's like, then think to yourself, it's like, then start to ask, how are they getting all that stuff? Where's it all coming from? Because if they've got the job at the local, for want of better words, at the local school or the local, local authority or anything like that, it's like, and we all know what sort of salary you're on at that level. And then you've got to find out, could you really get that sort of lifestyle at that salary level? And probably 99 times out of 100, the answer is going to be no. They're not going to be able to afford that salary level, that lifestyle and that salary level. So where is it all coming from? And it might be actually subsidised from somewhere else, from a parent or something that they've inherited. So I think that's the key overall. What you've got to think about in terms of. In terms of, you could see somebody that's a guru, but you have to make sure that get somebody that eats their own cooking. somebody actually knows what they're doing. Somebody actually does that all the time. I'm an active investor, so I think I'm pretty well qualified to talk about property investment because I'm still an active investor. So that's fine. And if I wasn't an active investor, I would feel less qualified or less encumbrant in order to say to people, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to do it. Because it's like, well, when did you last do that? Oh, well, I did that 15, 20 years ago. Like, well, times have changed now. So why would that be any different from it was before?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think it's quite important when you're thinking about who you want to obviously maybe class as a role model or who you want to take inspiration from, is to really do your due diligence into actually how successful they are, and who they are as a person, and do they align with what you actually believe in or what you're striving to achieve.
You could turn up as, I mean, paralysis analysis.
Mhm.
So yes, just go to network meetings and stuff like
Meet
that.
people,
Go to
yeah.
events. Go to, this is my whole thing about, I used to go to the opening an envelope because it could further my cause and what I wanted to achieve, and I was prepared to do that and pay that price. But then sometimes you would realise it's not the place for you. So you've gone along, you find out it's not the place for you. But as I once heard from somebody far more successful than me, 95% of the effort is actually just turning up.
Yeah, and being
It's
present.
actually getting out of your seat. Getting out of your seat after being at work all day and then saying to yourself, right, I'm going to go to something else, which seems like work, but the reality is it's not. Now, for the people that are out there right now, I've got maybe full-time jobs like ourselves. Let's be honest, I'm full-time job as well.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Do you give more time, just as much time to what you want to do for yourself than you do to your full-time job?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you got to ask yourself, because
That's
all
a good point.
people are
Yeah.
saying, why am I not as successful as you, Jim? Why am I not successful as that person, as that person, as that person? Okay, let's just look at that. How much effort do you think they put in to get to that level? Everything.
Mm-hmm.
How much effort are you putting in? Oh, I'm putting in a couple of hours a week. And you're expecting the same result. It's like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then it's like when you're attending network things or getting yourself around people that are related or obviously involved in what you have as part of your journey, and that's where you want to take inspiration. I think it's important to ask lots of questions. You're saying obviously a big part of the effort is actually just being present and turning up, but I think to ask a lot of the right questions is quite important.
I think being present and turning up is 95% of the effort, believe it or
Yeah.
not. Because if you're not turning up, you're no better to ask any questions anyway. The
Yeah.
natural progression will be you'll put yourself in an uncomfortable position because you've probably never done it before, and you'll feel
Mhm.
like a fish out of water because you'll feel like, oh, God, there's nobody to speak to. What do I say and how do I do it? And it's like you'll be surprised actually what comes out in the conversation. When you actually turn up and put yourself in that situation, and
Mhm.
what transpires as a result of that. At the weekend, classic example, I bumped into somebody, I was sitting having a pizza and then I was having a falafel kebab later on, and I was sitting in the sun all day, and then all of a sudden somebody came up to me and says, I've got 2 new build houses I'm actually building. You're going to be selling them, by the way. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? It's like, I don't even know this person. It's like, and then we had a discussion, we exchanged numbers, QR codes, and all the rest of it in our WhatsApp group, and then we've got a deal just like
Mhm.
that. 95% of the time, it's turning up.
Yeah.
And then I had somebody else actually earlier on actually did similar the same thing. So all I did was turn up for a day out, not for that purpose, but
Yeah.
turned up for a day out and a crowd of people. And then all of a sudden, everybody started talking to me about business and about what I wanted to do. Now I could easily go, oh, I don't want anything to do with that today because I'm like, I'm having my chill day. Oh,
Mhm.
get a grip, eh? Get over your work-life balance shite because it'll never happen. If
Yeah.
you're wanting to be really successful at what you want to do and what you want to achieve, work-life balance will never come into this.
Yeah. You need to progressively just kind of, you're always working away at something. If it's for the betterment of you or your success, then yeah.
Anybody that comes on Instagram or their fake courses that they do online and all the rest of it and say these things about, oh, I have a work-life balance. Do you hell? It's like you're
Yeah.
kidding everybody on in order to attract them to pretend that you can do that. And then once you're locked into their system and you're paying an absolute fortune, then they tell you the truth. And you go, oh, that's no what I really expected, but
Mhm.
I've committed myself, and it's like, oh dear. It's like then you kind of get out, or you're hitting a big penalty as a result of it. This is all about, for want of a better phrase, entrapment. This is what they're
Yeah.
trying to do. They're just trying to trap you in a system. It's like to pay it up front in order for them to sign a deal with you, and then they'll tell you the truth about what you really need to do. But the way they've got you in is actually just, fishing. That's all
Mhm.
they're doing. It's the same as you go for fish, you put bait on the end of the hook. That's exactly what Instagram is.
Yeah.
99% of Instagram is just about baiting a hook. Same with TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok's just about selling you something. There's always a link to somebody's sale on Shopify and stuff
Yeah.
when you watch TikTok. And that's it. 3% of the people, actually 3% of people that actually do videos on the top 3% of people that do videos on YouTube are earn 78% of the income on YouTube.
Mhm.
So do you think you're really going to be a YouTuber? Probably unlikely. But I
Yeah.
tell you what, give it a go. Because it'll teach you really good skills and expertise and stuff. And if it happens for you, then absolutely. But if you've paid that price and you've put that effort into it, then go for it. Go for it. Don't let me put you off. Go for it and see what happens. Come and tell me different. Come and tell me you made it and you made an absolute fortune out of YouTube. And I'll take you out for a drink and pat you on the back and say, congratulations, well done.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the reliable network thing, I mean, like we say, it could simply be achieved by actually just turning up and taking part in networking groups or, and with influential people and things as well. But it does help you become quite a good communicator and listener because you're in that room, you're with people, you're listening to people, you're communicating with people. So it's really important to take advantage of, if you've got local meetings, events, and make sure you're actually available to actually network and share your ideas and listen to other people's. And through time, that'll create opportunities for your own growth and momentum. So
It'll be good
uh,
fun. It's good fun when you turn up to these things, because now and again you get the odd person that turns up and has a conversation with you and tells them how successful they are, tells you how successful they are, and how they've got this and they've got that and they've got everything else, and they're great at this and they're great at that, and you just nod your head and go, yeah, okay. And then the person, in the main floor then refers to you and asks you to come up and speak. And then they just turn white as if to say, oh dear. That's it. Maybe I'm no that is successful. But you never know who you're standing in front of. That's the key, and who you're talking to. And that's why you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Do more listening than you do talking. That's
yeah,
the key here. At this point in time, we're obviously doing the talking because
yeah,
all the rest of it going on. But I take quite a bit in. I even take quite a bit in by the things that I reinforce to myself, which I talk about, which is
mhm,
that story I told in the very beginning. It's like, are you prepared to pay a price? If you're prepared to pay, if you're at the point where your price that you're prepared to pay is greater than breathing itself, then you'll achieve it. Whether anybody tells you you're no able to do it or no capable of it, you'll definitely achieve it. I'll guarantee you that. Or
yeah,
you'll achieve something close to it. But you'll be better off. You'll be better off than you were before before you first started,
mhm,
just because of that effort and time that you put into that, and the drive and determination you did for that as well. This is all about the staying power. This is all about staying power, Richard, for
mhm,
anything. Maintaining momentum is all about staying power. It's not maintaining momentum to the point that you're going to be, you're a train leaving the station and you're going to pick up speed, or a cruise ship leaving the port and then you're going to pick up speed on the way, and that's fine.
yeah,
You probably will do that with the people round about you and the team you build together, and you pick up that speed and that momentum. But what it's really about is sustainability and actually keeping doing it consistently and discipline to do it every single
yeah,
day. It's easy not to do it because you're the boss. That's the difficult thing. There's 2 great things I used to get told by my mentors. Congratulations, Jim. You've got the best position in the world. You're in charge of your own decisions. And
mhm.
that's the fantastic thing about it. And he says, know what the worst thing about it is? You're in charge of your own
You're in
decision.
charge.
Yeah, because at that time when it's a cold night and winter's night and it's just no that great outside and your car's a bit dodgy and starting and stuff like that, and it's like you're knackered from the day that you've had at work and you're just mentally exhausted, are you actually going to get in the car and turn up? That's the key. And I'll tell you, 95% of people don't do it. They don't make an effort. They just switch off. They don't turn up. That's why I tell you every single time, you invite 50 people to a meeting and 25 will turn up. The other 25% have fallen by the wayside because they don't have a driving force behind them. They don't have anything compelling to get them to that next level. And this is why you have to set things like your clear goals and you work towards them as a result of it. Goals are for if you want to win. Processes are if you want to win every single time. And so what should we be, what would you be doing about goals, Richard?
Yeah, like you say, Jim, setting clear goals, it gives you something to work towards, and it helps you really determine precisely what you want to work on to accomplish, what you obviously your goals are, and how we'd like to get there. I think the journey is just as important as the actual final result, and it's important to make sure that what we want to work towards will actually turn out to then actually benefit us in the right way. Because I mean, you could just setting goals isn't as easy as you might think. You know, if you actually sit down and write what your
Tell me
goals are.
about it, Richard. Setting goals isn't as easy as you think. That's quite
not,
interesting. You said.
It's not, and to quantify them, which is something that I've been exploring, isn't the easiest thing either. To think about it in that way.
We'll be having that discussion tomorrow, won't we?
We will, yes. So it's not as easy as you think. Do you know, it's can people that might just think, oh, you just get a bit of paper and sit and write them down. It's not as easy as that. So
I remember after I'd had Keith Cunningham's workshop in Paris, we'd actually sat for a while and then everybody else went away to have a booze up at the bar. And I took myself away to a restaurant and sat in a restaurant in Paris. And I took my book, a book similar to this one, and I wrote about, and I was only asked to write, what do you really want out of life? And he said, just anything and everything, anything you could think of, anything that you want. Because I was right hyped, because obviously we'd been on that training session for that day. And that's why everybody got pissed at the bar. And it's like, they'll go, oh, I'll just take a relax and I'll get, you know, I'll have time out for myself. It's like, no, I'm still fired. This is the prime time to actually get this down. So I took myself away to a restaurant and I ordered something. While I was ordering something, I just kept writing and writing and writing and writing, just random crap. You know, some of it was a lot of rubbish, but some of it was completely relevant, but it stimulated my brain to do something else. This is what Tony Robbins talks about getting yourself to putting yourself in state, you know, getting yourself ready, hyping yourself up before you start, like runners do, like tennis people, you know, the tennis players do, like everybody does before they go on stage. They have that, like Bill Clinton does. Showtime in front of the mirror. It's like, you know, that gets him pumped. That's his anchor. And if you can get to that stage, that then starts to get you your creativity flowing, and your juice flowing as well as a result of it. And I wrote pages and pages and pages and pages of stuff I want. Believe it or not, I've actually never revisited these goals or what I'd wanted. But I know for a fact I've probably got quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
Because by writing it down and by thinking about it, by writing it down and what I thought about, it retains the information greater. And it wasn't the first time I wrote these goals down, more than likely. I'll probably see a model of repetition all the way through this, all the way through my journey so far. And I'll probably see a model of repetition right now, still, even if I was, you know, write down all your goals again. What do you really want and where do you want to go and all the rest of it? I'll start to see clear paths of the consistent thing all the time. So then it made me focus more and more on the things that were completely relevant. So the ones that I probably achieved are the ones that appeared most in every single session that I did on goal setting. That'll be the ones that I've achieved. When we went to Tony Robbins to Unleash the Power Within, and we sat there in Leadership Summit as well, where Richard Branson and Alan Sugar, you know, when we wrote all these things down, it's like, I'll guarantee you that some of the things I wrote down I've achieved. And I'll guarantee you it's probably the same things I wrote down after that at other trainings. and after that, and after that, and after that. And that's why I've achieved it, because I've consistently kept it in my mind, and I've consistently focused on it as well. And that was the driving force that kept me going. So that's how you have clear goals to work towards. It's not a textbook exercise. It is meant like that, because when this obstacle comes along, let me find an obstacle. Here we go. When this is me, right? And this is this obstacle. And this is and we're sitting in here. And here's my goal. Here's my goals here, right?
Yeah.
So my obstacle is here. And notice that my goals, I can't see them. Because the obstacle is covering my goals. And I'm technically here. I'm in a. So I'll never see my goals because they're behind my obstacle. But what you want to do is you want to put your goals so high on your priority list, and you want to make them so compelling that you'll see over there every single time. The obstacle, no matter what it is, will never be an obstacle anymore, because your goals are so big, nothing will stop you. And that's when nothing but life itself will stop you in the tracks from achieving what you really want to achieve. Because your goals are so great and go so grand overall that nothing will stop you getting to there. Financial freedom for me was never about me. I couldn't care less. I just loved the journey and I loved doing it. Financial freedom was all for my children. That was the biggest goal ever.
Yeah, and that's what made it rise above the obstacle.
And it's still like that today. It's still like that today. It will never change. The day I had my children was the day I accepted responsibility for their financial future and for their well-being.
Do you know, because even
that will never
journey,
change. Even when the day I die, I will still be doing that for them with the wealth and the foundation and the trust I've built as a result of that. That will go on giving for generations to come. It was never about me. It was always about them. Right here.
You know, and even
any obstacle on my tracks will no stop that.
Even in your journey now, and as you are now, and continue to be, you'll always have obstacles, and you'll always have things that could become bigger obstacles. But because your end goal still is, and always will be, so big, you know, you'll see past that every time, and just
think about it. Think about it. Put it this way: if your house was burning down, would you run into it to save a few of your things? Nah, no, really,
No.
would you? Would you run into it to save your cat?
I'd run and save my dog.
I probably would as well. I'd save my cat.
I would definitely run in for my dog.
But you would less likely. Would you run into it to save your children? Absolutely, every single time. Even if I was going to die, even if it was going to kill me, I would run in to save my children. I would rather die than watch my children die.
Yeah.
And that is the goal that will drive you to your financial future and to whatever you want to do. If that is what really compels you. For some people, they don't, it's no their thing, it's they don't bother. I know it's hard to believe, but for some people, it's like, they have children, they couldn't give a shit. Sink or swim, like I did, to say. It's like, you have to go through all the hassles I went through. I went through it, so why shouldn't you? Well, why shouldn't they not? Do they really need to suffer? Was it unpleasant for you? Absolutely. You really want to make it unpleasant for them?
Yeah,
it'll toughen them up. It'll toughen them up.
The good stuff that if you're able to do that, you should do it.
It'll not toughen them up. It'll get them right to the point where you are, which is probably mentally ill and got anxiety and obesity problems and heart problems and all the rest of it, the problems you've got.
Everything else that goes with it, yeah.
That's where they're headed, because you're asking them to follow the same path that you followed. So why would you do that to your children? Why? That is mental.
Yeah, and like you say, Jim, putting that pen to paper, it really does. It creates that, even in your subconscious mind, that commitment and determination, and things that really serve as a reminder for your continuous action towards actually realizing your dreams, despite the obstacles that you face along the way. So yeah, having clear goals and staying committed to them, and being focused is such an important part of your journey and how you could maintain momentum. that clear vision and plan that could lead you forward in achieving your goals. And like you say, Jim, you didn't actually revisit and keep reading over your goals. You wrote them down, and in the back of your mind, they've always been there.
Yep.
Yeah. So that brings us on to be fearless. And I be fearless and take risks. Now, I say take risks. I don't mean just throw caution to the wind. And I know, Jim, you used to live by Monte Carlo or bust.
You may as well.
Yeah.
What is life but boring if it's no without a bit of risk?
You need to take a bit of risk.
Calculated risk is good.
Yes,
but
I think that's
the downside and all the rest of it. But it does create momentum, and it does lift you up as a result when you actually succeed by taking that small risk or that big risk. But nobody's achieved anything without first failing. Nobody's achieved anything without first actually failing. I'll say that again. Show me somebody that's never failed, and I'll show you somebody that's never achieved anything in life at all. Because failure is probably your greatest teacher. You just got to make sure you don't get wiped out. Some people that get wiped out go into meteoric success after that because they know exactly what to do next time. This is my thing about Gareth. There's a Gareth Southgate, the England manager. Oh my God, this guy took them to the finals and the Euros, and it's like then he goes, oh, I'm going to throw myself on my sword and resign, and then I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute,
you're the one that got them there.
To that point to win the final, but you've actually worked out the way how to get to the finals. Why would you then start with someone else new again? What? That's madness. What is it with society? It actually says, oh, we should just start again. What do you mean start again? Start again with somebody at the beginning, and that person then has to work out how to get to the final.
And do that whole journey again.
Yeah, it's like that. That was stupidity at its best. But this is the way our society is geared about this. This whole thing about be risk adverse, don't take chances. What makes you think you're so special? All the rest of these different things. And this is this sort of thing about criticism as well, which can lead you to procrastination. People are afraid of being criticized every single time. See, when I say to somebody when they go, I really want to be successful, right, let's do a video about that together. Oh, well, oh, no, oh, no. Oh, I'm not really sure about doing a video. Well, I thought you really wanted that success because I know it's what's going to get you. Oh, but I'm not comfortable maybe with doing video. Could be. No, we'll just do it now. Let's go in the moment. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
And these are the people that hold themselves back. No one else is holding you back, by the way. You're holding yourself back. What would you do right now if you weren't afraid?
Yeah, that's a good one because if you think about like if I didn't have that kind of that fear of, I don't know, rejection or ridicule or whatever it is, do you know, that holds people back? If you didn't have that, what would you actually be doing on a daily basis? And I bet it would be a lot more than what you're doing now.
Yeah. What would you do if you couldn't fail?
You
just go out there and do it.
Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, you probably can't fail. If you just went out and did it, you wouldn't fail if you just went out and did it. But what would you know what I mean? So it's a chicken and egg situation.
It's the fear
and this
thing.
is the classic example about, I didn't want to pay that. I'm going to put all this effort and I'm not really sure if I'm going to get it. No, if you put that effort in, you'll get it. Or you'll get something a lot better than what you've got now if you put that effort in.
Yeah, and there'll be like bumps along the way and not everything always goes exactly as planned, but you'll get there in the end.
So this is where you feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, that was a good book.
You've written Manage Your Time. This is quite interesting.
Yeah.
Manage your time. Wow.
Managing time is so important, and it's just that it could get away for everybody, and myself included. Do you know, when you've got so much going on and finding the time to do everything that you want to do?
Well, have you? You've not got so much going on. I'll guarantee anybody out there.
Well, that's what I mean. And everybody
not got so much going on at all.
Nobody's got break it down. You've probably got
so much going on, Richard.
Yeah.
We've all got 64,800 settings in the day.
Yeah.
And we all choose to do what we need to do with these 64,800 settings. And you're telling me that Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson all chose to do the same as what we were doing. They got their result that way. No, they didn't. Let's be honest. They didn't. They didn't do anything like we were doing because they weren't watching the telly and they weren't on their mobile phone, back and forward with people,
Yeah.
messing about and looking at TikTok videos and all the rest of it. They just don't do that.
No.
Because I sit in front of successful people and I usually say, "What's your favourite TV programme?" I didn't really watch TV. It's like, didn't can. It's like, what's on the telly now? It's like that tells you everything. That tells you everything. What's on the telly now? It's very rare that anybody will watch, and they don't interact with people online either. They don't see the need to because you're either a follower or you're a creator. That's it. You're not in between. I would say so. So which one do you want to be? Do you want to be the person that's the producer, or do you want to be the consumer? Because I think you can't be both.
Yeah.
So
I think
managing your time is the most important thing. It's your habits that create that, and it's your goals that will drive that. Classic examples about it's when you're in a business. It's like, how can I get everything else to do the heavy lifting for me? And what is the core responsibility and duty I need to do in business? What is the main thing that I need to do? It needs my attention. What am I talent? What is my talent? Not what is my passion. What is my talent? So it's the talent you need to lean into, because the talent is the one that people will pay you for the most,
yeah, if you're good at
because
something,
you'll be the best. Yeah, this goes back to YouTube creators. 3% makes 70%, 78% of the income. Everybody else is making 15 grand a year at YouTube, putting a full-time job in it. That's worse off than actually working for someone else.
Yeah, I know.
So when you think about that logic and you think about the effort it's got to put into it, even when you look at you look at theatre people, it's like, and singers as well. Most of the singers don't make any money at all. It's very, very rare. And yet we look at them because they're a singer or they're on television or something like that. It's like we hold them up in high esteem. People on the television, it's like it's just a job. They're on 20, 30 grand a year. They're on the telly as a presenter, but they don't really make anything eye-watering. They don't make huge amounts of money unless they're in the top professional sphere. But the majority of people in the television sector actually just make a normal job's wage. That's it.
There's that expectation that, they're on the telly, they must be making a lot of money.
Yes, because they're in the limelight. So and then it's also things about, you said about here, incorporating sleeping and eating intentionally to our daily habits. I have to force myself to go to bed sometimes at night because I know I'm not going to wear well the next day, and I have to stop myself halfway between a film and say to Elaine, "Look, I'm just going to my bed." Just go to my bed, because I know I'll be bright and breezy the next day. If I don't do it, it'll be worse off, and I'll pay the price for it. So I'm going to my bed now,
You
regardless.
definitely do. Yeah, I've noticed. I noticed myself do that. If you stay up that wee bit later and watch something or whatever, then you kind of get up so easy earlier in the morning, and it kind of knocks you off your usual momentum for the day, basically.
So that brings us nicely on to managing your finances wisely. What have you said about that, Richard?
So I think being able to kind of differentiate between what is essential and what is not in terms of your spending, it really can't be stressed enough. Sometimes the more we make, the more we spend, and that's so true. I mean, it's like, I think they used to say, is that you're skint on egg and chips, or you're skint on steak and chips.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, the more
level.
money, broke at a different level. Yeah, the more money people make or income they have coming in or whatever, the more they spend. And it's like, it's looking at the actual essentials. And like you were saying, Jim, I think you've used an example of when you guys started out and how much is actually spent and how much is invested from your incomes each month, and how that got you to where you were.
I never really quantified it as such. I just worked out how much we were spending, and then I thought to myself, what is the minimum amount we can get away with to live on? And it literally got down to that. What is the minimum amount we can get away with to live on? And then that's what we lived on for a lot of years, the minimum amount we could get away with to live on. And then we just sacrificed everything else. And as a result, everything else went into investment in the property in the very beginning. And regenerating the stock and turning it around and getting people in as quick as possible, getting the right contractors in, doing the right jobs, making that as quick as possible to get the turnaround, to get the full occupancy as high as possible. And that was the main driver for me. What is the minimum amount we need to live on? Do we really need 2 cars? You know, do we really need this? Do we really need that? Is it really that important? Is it only a one-off? Do we really need to buy that? Can we not just hire it for a one-off and just use it once and hand it back? Is that no more cost effective than actually owning it? This is how a lot of businesses work. I've seen a lot of businesses and local charities, and I know one in particular, and I'm not going to say who they are, but they decided to buy all their, their market stalls. Used to get a hire company in to buy all the market stalls, so they decided to buy them all themselves and invest in all that equipment, because they says, "Oh, we'll do that market stall every month, and we'll use our own equipment, and we'll save that money." 2 months later, they've stopped doing the market stalls, and they've got all that stuff.
You've got all that equipment and stuff,
Yeah, they've just got to all sit and do nothing. So they've invested all that capital into these market stalls to buy them all, and 2 months later, they stopped doing the markets, and therefore it's been a complete waste of money, and that stuff will just go to rack and ruin and rot.
When they
So
could have
that's
just
the type of things you've got to
that.
think. What could you have done with that capital, though? What else could you have done with that? That's the whole thing there. So managing your finances wisely is probably the most important thing. You know, it's live within your means, but live well within your means, and then you'll set yourself free over time.
Yeah, and how you manage money could say a lot about you as a person, and it really says about how you could then help yourself avoid falling into really unnecessary debt and impulsive shopping habits. I mean, that's something that's a big problem nowadays. People online just spend money willy-nilly on silly things. I've caught myself doing it before, and then I stopped myself and I'm like, do I need that? I didn't need that. Do you know, it's like some people have got it in them where they don't have that need to spend money on silly, irrelevant things, but other people don't, and they don't have that trigger to think, right, okay, I don't need to actually spend this. So it can say a lot about you as a person, what your spending habits are like, and how you manage your money.
Start cutting out your finances and start cutting them back, and don't just focus on one big thing. If one big thing does it for you, fair enough, and you can get rid of that spending. But the other thing is just like start making incremental differences in every single thing that you're doing. In other words, why do you need to buy all the own brands all the time? Why do you not just buy shop brands? Why do you need to buy Kellogg's, Weetabix, and all the rest of it? Why do you not just buy the normal ones? Sometimes the ones at the shops, their own brands, actually have better nutrition in than the actual other ones as well. So that's the sort of thing. So let's move on to work on your focus.
Well, that's got to say it, but brings us on nicely to working on your focus and things that draw down energy and really drain your energy levels. Anything that motivates us and lifts us up and lifts our spirits, such as room in your home, or a room in a certain place in your home or your garden, a relaxing spot or an activity, or something that puts you in that better mindset. Do you know, embrace these kind of things. Take time to really enhance your focus, and remember to deep work, as they say. People might say, how do you do that? And it's simply practice. Maybe when you're doing tasks and things, work on them for a period of time, quite consistently, an hour or so at a time, and really focus on that and pay particular attention, and then give yourself, like, finish that, have a bit of a break, and then move on to the next thing.
I think the break in between is actually vital in terms of what you're doing. I'll give you a classic example this morning. I'm sitting going through my PADI qualification, and then now and again, I was like, God, I begin to not read it anymore. It's beginning to just get monotonous, and I'm not retaining the information. So I have to get up and do something else and change my focus and my vision. And then I come back to it again, and I'm refreshed to actually start it all over again. And that's the same with quite a lot of things that you do from day to day. Don't get super consumed with it. I tend to build massive spreadsheets. I used to do in the early days, and I still kind of do things like that. Tony actually said the other day, because I've given her my spreadsheet for my investments and everything, Tony says, God, I should get one of these big, massive wraparound, monitors that goes from one end to the other, which is about 2 meters in width, because that's what your spreadsheet is effectively. You can see it right across, but that's how my mind works in a spreadsheet sort of thing, where
how it all feeds in.
I can see the bits at the right point in time when I focus on them, but overall it's in there somewhere, and I just come back to it. And it's like my dad used to say years and years ago. Once I said, how do you remember things after a couple of days? You go, oh, I remember what that was. And it's like your mind's like one of these old tape recorders, the data tape recorders that used to get on the the old films where they were on the things going round and stuff like that. That's what your mind's like. It goes back and goes and looks for it on this tape and goes, oh, right, that's what it was. And
They're
that's how you
original
think.
reels. That's reels. Original.
Yeah, the real sort of thing, and that's how you work on your focus,
Yeah.
in terms of doing things. Energy boosting activities like what you said, and getting around other people like-minded to you as well. Remember,
Yeah.
helps you work on your focus. Because if you get around these people, you begin to think like that, you begin to focus like that as well, and everything begins, that sort of foveal rather than peripheral vision, in terms of seeing what you're seeing overall. That's how you do it, and pushing in the right direction, and it gets you past all these barriers, and that are actually, and maintains your momentum overall. That's where you come down to writing it down, though.
Yeah, just before we do move on, I'm smiling because I wrote a bit down in here, and it's like sometimes the most critical people are the ones who will offer you the most insightful options and push you in the right direction, which is very true, because I think you might obviously think people are being very critical, but it's actually pushing you in the right direction, and that's really what you need. But yeah, writing everything down.
It depends if you're there to receive that information or not, because people can be guarded. A guy came on the other day and said something about, here's a classic, pushing the right direction. It's don't go looking for validation for what you already know. This is what a lot of people actually do and think this is wonderful. I must be doing the right thing because everybody else is starting to agree with me. But it's because you're so focused on getting people to agree with what you know and what you've just said. This is classic for Facebook. You then attract that right person. They all agree with you. And the next minute, you're all wrong. Because you don't realize the people are actually trying to tell you that there's a different way to this solution that you're trying to, you think you've got sorted out, is actually probably the most cost effective and efficient way to do it. But you don't want to listen to that because you just want people to tell you you're right.
Yeah.
You're on Facebook and Instagram and all the rest of it for the likes and everything that comes with it. Whereas I'm like, I couldn't care less. It's like I'm there to say what I'm needing to say. If you want to listen to it, fair enough. If you don't, it's just my opinion. What you think about me is nothing to do with me. It's nothing to do with me at all. It's your opinion of me. I couldn't care less.
Yeah, definitely.
So writing everything down is definitely the way to go for this. And as I said, I write it all down.
I'm just going to say that goes right back to the books that you write. Yeah.
Oh my God, I've got reams and reams of this stuff here.
Yeah.
All the way deep down, Dragon's Den, Steve Bartlett, Diary of a Millionaire, Gary V, all these different things. And here, how to finance deals. I've got it all here still. Property sourcing, other things as well, notes and presentations, the Property Academy, vocal exercises. They fought the dogs and killed the rats, a bit of the babies, and in the cradles. And then vocal exercises. That was me doing public speaking. So that's what we're to do. And then asking about the questions, landlord success, all these different things. I've got loads and loads of stuff in here that is completely irrelevant to some people, but completely relevant to the journey I want to take. That's the most important point. It's all about what the journey what I want to take and what will benefit me, not what it's not for everybody else.
Yeah, and your notes.
That's why I've written it down.
Yeah, and your notes and and when you write things down don't need to be some perfected like series of information and things. It could just be you could just completely be brainstorming and or writing down things that you don't want to forget that you'll pick up on a daily basis or from other people that are more successful or influential that you meet, or even just things that you aspire to do or carry out. Like you say, Jim, to somebody else it can mean absolute mumbo jumbo, but to you it makes sense and it resonates with what's going on in your mind and your journey and keeping that momentum. So writing things down is really important.
There was a wee paper backet actually talked about that. Skill with People by Les Giblin. And it was written in 1968.
Okay.
And it talks about retention of information and how important it is when Les goes through this, about the fact that if you write something down, if you watch someone speaking, if you listen to them speaking, if you say it back to yourself, and you write it down at the same time as well, it retains the information so high in your brain that your recollection will be a lot better. If you then start to teach someone else that, then your recollection gets even better and more reinforced in terms of what you're doing. And therefore you become an expert in your field as a result of that. So that's why you get a lot of people coming on board. And that's why I do it as well. That's why I come on and do some podcasts and all the rest of it, of different things, because it strengthens my retention of that information, but it also gives me more clarity into the subject that we're talking about, because it makes things clearer as I go through them and talk through them as well in my mind.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, it reinforces it for yourself. Plus, it allows you to kind of put it out there and process it in a different way when you're saying it out loud for yourself as well. So, yeah, writing things down is very important. And then you mentioned about books there, and I've wrote obviously read books, and there is a lot obviously of books out there, personal development and books and things, and they all include activities and.
See, the writing things down, just to go back to that, you talked
about,
you talked about maintaining momentum. So why would you write things down to maintain momentum then? Because for me personally, writing things down is just a recollection and skill and be better at what I do. But in terms of maintaining momentum, why would you write them down then?
I think like you say, it's not just obviously hearing something and then thinking about it. It's actually putting it on paper. So, and then I think what you said about saying it out loud to yourself, I think just the reinforcement, I think. And I think when you write something down and think about it and say it out loud, do you know, it does have a different meaning rather than just swirling around in your head.
But the other one benefit of that is this is why you had said in here, and I think we didn't touch on this subject, about the fact that if you write it down in a gratitude journal and to be grateful for what you do. Now, I could do Fest when you say write it down. Honestly, it's like it seems so. It doesn't resonate with me when this gratitude and be grateful and the universe, like the dove from above on Shooting Stars. You know, that sort of thing. It's like I'm a very logical, system-driven person and process-driven as well. So when we get into airy-fairy stuff, like the writing it down in the gratitude journals, and you know, Sanjay, one of my best friends, actually talks about it. He's very grateful for everything, and that's Sanjay's way of probably keeping himself motivated. Especially the tough times especially the tough times he's going through with his diagnosis. So I could understand completely why he does that, because being grateful actually gives you positive momentum, and it actually creates chemicals in your body which actually makes you feel good about yourself by being grateful.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That's an important thing, and that keeps you maintaining momentum, remember.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think reflecting deeply on things that maybe you're thankful for could lead to that positive emotion and feeling more alive and sleeping better and expressing more compassion and kindness and things as well. And it could even lead to having a better physical being, like your immune system. Your immune system and things benefits from you being in that positive mindset. And these are all things that have been confirmed. Like people have done tests.
Think about it. Yeah. Think about the most negative people you know, and then think about the most positive people you know, and ask yourself which one is iller most. And it's usually the negative people are ill for long periods of time, and they're more or less constantly ill. And whereas the positive people, even when they get ill, they just go, the recovery rate's just like that.
Yeah.
You know, that's what happens because their whole energy about them is completely different within them. And a lot of people don't realize that your body actually heals itself more than likely. Do you know the third biggest killer in the world is prescription medication?
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, because people are just completely. I mean, there's some people that are on a lot of prescription medication, and it baffles me that.
But when you think about it, wow, wait a minute, whoa, the third biggest killer in the world, prescription medication. What's going on here? It's like the reckon by the time 2030 comes along, there'll be 23 million died in a year because of prescription medication. That's crazy. It's like, what? And it's because we're just falling into that mainstream, what we're being taught by the system and what it's churning out in order to probably make profits, to be honest. And now we're beginning to learn that the COVID vaccine caused enlarged hearts, which they'd actually try to warn us at the time. And it's like, stay away from it now, because we're over it and we've all got immunity, herd immunity. But a lot of people died because of that. I'm just listening to that just now in a podcast on
Is that the
Doubtful CEO.
AstraZeneca one?
And it's like, wow. And I'm thinking, we were all led in to believe it. I mean, in terms of the majority, then possibly it might have been the best thing that ever happened. But, some people actually paid the ultimate price for it. And this guy's dad actually did, who was a heart surgeon and a doctor at the time. He has been since the year 2000. So 24 years of this. And he knows exactly what he's talking about. And he only fell over this by accident when he was doing research on heart and how it all happens. And he went, well, wait a minute, what's caused that? And the only thing that changed was that. It's quite interesting. But see the things, I'll come back to saying about the benefits, the emotions, and the drive it gives you as a result of writing everything down and seeing your goals all the time and reminding yourself these goals are probably the most important thing. That then comes back to, where are you going to get all this inspiration from? And that's when you mentioned about reading the books on personal development activities that prompts and encourages us to consider the decisions and the reasons actually behind them. I'm a great analyst. I'm very analytical and critical of myself. Not too critical now, but I used to be in the early days. It used to cause me a lot of stress because I used to be my own worst enemy in terms of being the biggest critic I ever had. It sat on my shoulder and had a go at me every single time that something went, what makes you think? And it's like, the rest of it and all that wee person that kept nipping in your head all the time, that person that's at the back of your head, it talks to you all the time. That is the person you have to overcome. And reading the right books replaces these negative thoughts. It strengthens your resilience to be able to bounce back and to be able to ignore that voice at the back of your head. And that years and years of programming you've had from school, from primary to secondary, to your family round about you, who could be the most negative people on the earth you've ever had.
Yeah, I think it's like what you say about it's all one reading books, but reading the right books. Do it's finding the right books that are going to put you on the right path, and things that are going to really increase your awareness and the activities that we choose to include in our day, like reading books and things, that will really help us enable to focus more on where we need to work or what we need to work on and what we need to spend less time doing. So, and it is really important not to limit yourself. So look for books from all different fields, and every book that you do read will open a door that will lead you to learning something new. And if it's the right book, then it will help you on your journey and help you maintain momentum ultimately.
Definitely.
So yeah, I mean, to round up today, I think the techniques that we all use definitely determine the way we create momentum in our own lives. So everybody needs that time and consistency, and applying the techniques that we've mentioned today could help you on your own path to success. So you need to decide what works best for you, though, and we all individually have a responsibility for creating the best versions of ourselves and our own realities ultimately. So, and that's where I'm going to leave it today.
I think you're absolutely right, Richard. I think that the best version of yourself is so. How are you going to do that? And then I talk about that. I've talked about this quite a lot in the past. I'll just briefly mention it because I actually put it in a post the other day, and I thought it was really completely relevant to it. If you can, you must. You were never really destined to keep your light hidden for any of us. It was always meant to shine, to provide a beacon and give inspiration to others, whoever that person could be. And you might not think I'm actually speaking to you, not you, Richard, but anybody listening in. But literally, that's what it is. If you can, you must. You were never destined to keep your light hidden. It was always meant to shine, to provide a beacon, to give inspiration to others. Because I'll guarantee you there's always somebody worse off than you.
Yeah, there's always somebody that you could lift up with what you know.
No matter where you think you are right now, There is always somebody worse off with you in the world. Think about that.
Yeah.
We live in a generation that we have really never had it so good. Hot running water, everything sanitized, clean drinking water, all these different things. You know, you don't have dysentery or anything like that like you used to have all these years ago.
Yeah.
People didn't die at 30 years old because they never had water to drink. They always had to drink spirits like whiskey and that all the time, because that's the only thing they could ever consume, because that was the only thing it was ever, you know, like no impurities in it. That was the
Available,
only
yeah.
thing it was, yeah, free from infections. And that was only 100 years ago. 100 years have passed and we've got to this point.
Which is a very short period of time in the grand scheme of the world.
When you think about it. And that's what you have to remember. We live in a world where you could probably get access to anything you need to help you. So therefore, in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, your survival really is pretty straightforward for the majority of people on this planet, except for people that don't have access to running water. Why do you think WaterAid exists? Oxfam. Why do you think people in Oxfam? Why do you think, you know, you've still got the Red Cross and stuff like that? All these different things, all these people going through all these different things, and yet we're sitting in the UK and pretty prosperous. We're probably one of the most prosperous nations in the world. But day to day, we just don't realise it.
Yeah.
And probably if there's anything you need to be thankful for, it's that.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people become very complacent to the society that we live in. So, but yeah, that's very insightful, and we'll leave it on that, Jim. I think, because that was quite a good statement to run on. But yeah, maintain momentum. We've covered quite a lot today. If you're watching the rerun, jump in the comments. If you've got anything to ask us, of course, you could come to myself and direct. And until next week, 12:30, we will be back for the Wealth Creation Show. And I'll see you then. Bye.
Bye for now.